The PFL is talking about closing the gap to the UFC, that they're coming very close now to the UFC's level, and the merge with Bellator, and Dana White is worried and this and that. Why this is absolute nonsense, let me tell you in this video, guys. Hello and welcome to Bloodsport MMA.
Salam alaikum to everyone.
Over the last couple of years, there were 4 major players in MMA game. You have on the clear number 1 spot, the UFC, and then miles behind, you have 3 other big players, or players that are the PFL, Bellator, and one championship, in no particular order here. People are always arguing which one is the number 2, number 3, number 4, this and that, blah, blah, blah. Everyone has an opinion. Now the PFL acquired Bellator, which is definitely a great move for them, definitely helps them to grow, and definitely gives a big competition to one championship. Because for me, honestly, my mind, one championship is the number 2 in this ranking. But now with the acquiring of Bellator, if they do it the right way, I still believe they should get rid of the season format. It's absolute nonsense in my opinion, but now they're having at least a season and normal pay-per-views, but I think only 4 or 5, but don't quote me on the number here, per year, and the fighters can choose if they want to compete in the season or not. They're getting a little bit closer, or they're probably at the same level now as one championship from the roster. They probably have a better roster, but just the overall organization is probably on the same level, but it's hard to compare this because one championship does Muay Thai as well, kickboxing, grappling and all that. That's why I love one championship more, because they're so innovative. But PFL is also innovative. They have like the goggles for the referees with the cams, which I don't need. I don't miss it in the UFC, but it's kind of cool. I like, why not? It's a little bit of a different wind. I like that. But they are just not the smartest with all their decisions, in my opinion. Like, you could have such a dangerous roster if you just do normal fight nights and pay-per-views. Why do you have a season format and normal? Like, now that you split it up and you let the fighters decide, there's a possibility that the best will never fight the best, which we MMA fans want, because some fighters fight in the league, and the other good fighters fight in those pay-per-views, and some are normal champions and some are league season champions, and you will never really have those competitions that we want. Get rid of the season format. Who cares about this?
Who cares? Who cares, brother? Who cares, brother? Who cares?
Who cares about the, he won $1 million? First of all, they will never get $1 million. This $1 million is for their whole, they have 4 fights in the season. That's for the whole 4 fights. So whatever they got paid up front for those other 4 fights that they won, 3 fights that they won, gets deducted from that. That's at least what I heard. So they never win a real $1 million. But it's still cool that they win a lot of money, but I'd rather do pay-per-views and just pay them enough. You know what I mean? That would be much better, and we would all watch it probably. But what you have to see is, what I have to laugh about when I hear the PFL talking about how they're closing the gap and Dana is scared now and whatever, this and that. Like, guys, let's just take a look at their social media. And whatever I try to say, it's 2023. Social media, at the end of the day, is what counts to check your reach. Let's be honest. So, the PFL itself, after the acquisition of Bellator, has 966,000 followers on Instagram. 966,000. UFC has like about 40 million. Let's compare it to one championship then. One championship on their Instagram has 8.6 million followers. Do you see the difference there? And yeah, of course, one championship is in Asia as well, so they have all the Asian people. So what? They have 8.6 million followers, and they do a great job with social media. They do a great job. They advertise their fighters perfectly. And you can also see that. When you talk about MMA with someone with a casual and you mention, let's just take a fighter that comes to my mind right now from one championship, and let's look at their followers. Let's say, I don't know, Stamp Fairtex. Okay, you're gonna look now. Stamp Fairtex, right? Stamp Fairtex, here she is. How much she's a women's fighter, of course. There's a lot of thirsty man that will follow her, this and that. We can always argue for why she has more followers. Let's just compare this. She's at the end of the day a normal female MMA fighter from one championship, who is a champ as well. She has 740,000 followers, which is great. Now let's look at the double champ of the PFL. This guy is a double champ. He was a champion 2 times now. He won $2 million overall because he's a 2-time champion now of PFL, of the league, of the season, whatever. Let's look at his followers. And he fought in the UFC before as well, so some followers probably also come from the UFC. He had 12 UFC fights as far as I remember. He was 7-5 in the UFC. His name is Olivier Ambon-Mercier. I really like him. He's a great fighter. He has 38.9 thousand followers. 38.9 thousand. That is the average following of a guy that had his first UFC fight, or probably had a contender series fight. They have about 38,000 followers. This is a double champion. And you can talk about he's not the most exciting guy. Yeah, but just imagine he would be a UFC double champion. Can you imagine how many million followers he would have? I'm just trying to put it in perspective for you guys here. Honestly, it's just insane to me. Let's just look. Heavyweight champion is always like the big thing, right? Like you're a heavyweight champion, that's always the most recognized champion somehow, you know what I mean? Especially for the old folks. Let's look at the PFL heavyweight champion. Here we have him, Renan Ferreira. Probably most of you have never heard of him. He's the PFL heavyweight champion. He has 39.9 thousand followers. And these are just 2 examples of 2 champions. I'm not even talking about some underdog guys. And of course, there are some guys in the PFL that have more followers, which are mostly fighters that came from the UFC. You know what I mean? Anthony Pettis, guy, okay, he's not officially in the PFL anymore, but guys like that, those are all former UFC guys. The PFL is not a great marketing machine until now. The PFL has so much potential, and I like their work. I'm not hating the PFL, though. I like their work. But them talking about they're closing a gap to the UFC now, and Dana, the reason why Dana doesn't want to talk about them, this and that, is because he's scared. Like, you're just making me laugh. Like, this is just absolutely cringe what you're talking here. Keep working, keep making great fights. This acquisition of Bellator is great. Use it, make the champion versus champion, get rid of the league, make nice pay-per-views, and you will gain a lot of fans. And you will definitely close the gap in a way, but you will never close the gap that you can even see the UFC. Maybe in 20 years, but you will not even see the UFC. The UFC is just a different type of organization. You cannot compare that to PFL. Please stop that. What is your opinion on that? Write it in the comments, guys. Do you like the PFL more than the UFC? Are you a UFC hater? Write it all in the comments, guys. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel. Would appreciate that. And that you can be more successful than a PFL. Make sure to get your sleep in. Until the next one, bye-bye. Bloodsport out.